Welcome to the Liberating Joy in Learning podcast. I'm Verena Beckstrand, and last time we wrapped up our discussion of the primary lens, owning our failures and successes. To recap the primary lenses we've covered so far, first we learned about the value of wondering about our growing desires. Then we claimed the learning we want to nurture. And recently we learned about the courage we gain by owning our brilliant or otherwise failures and successes. Moving beyond the crushing defeats and thrilling successes with this fourth primary lens takes at least a small leap of faith. In this step, we search for those truths and beliefs that help us stretch upward, inward, and outward into the learning and growth we seek.
Right. Now, stretching animates and prepares us for growth. Marianne Williamson explains that, quote, inspiration rearranges our energies, end quote. Inspiration and refocusing our beliefs changes our heart and how we see the world. Kathy Loughman states, I think that's how you pronounce it, that, quote, your beliefs are like a lens. They go beyond any technology man has ever developed. Your belief lens filters out, distorts, softens, and expands. For us to empower our full potential, it is paramount that we understand and take responsibilities for our beliefs, end quote. So, with that said, when have you been inspired by someone else, either directly or indirectly, by anything they said, as in a personal or done, like in a personal interaction or through words that they've shared?
Right. Okay. So, the thoughts that come to my mind are when I've reached out to somebody then when I've really been struggling.
Right.
And a few years ago, Rob was looking for a new job, and he had a lot of good interviews.
Right, I did.
And they just did not work.
No, they did
right?
not.
How many did you have? 3 or 4
I
or
don't
5
remember.
or something? Too many, because
too
it was
many to
really
count.
painful every time.
Yeah.
It didn't work out. And I had a good friend, Lyda Mosley. She is one of those very, very special people in my life. And I was just like, I just need somebody to help me with this. And so she sent me a text, and I copied and pasted it, and I keep it on my phone where I can access it.
Right.
And I turn to it every time I'm really struggling. You know, she's like, you are loved. Please don't let this discourage you. You are in the palm of our Savior. He will provide. His timetable is hard, but he is there. Right. And I've turned to that a lot. And I kept it because I knew, right? Sometimes you just need somebody to say, hey, it's tough. Keep going. Right. So, and I've had a lot of friends through the years that have just been that voice.
Right.
That you can't just tell yourself things every time.
Right.
It has to come from somebody else sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that's the important part about this particular primary lens is we need to get that inspiration. We can try to build this up as much as we can, but there are times when you need that outside influence. You need that outside force to give you the further bump you need to get over the hump of whatever you're struggling with.
Yeah.
In whatever, whether it's learning or anything else, you need that little shove in the pants.
Right. Are there times when you've been inspired by somebody else?
Well, there has been, but I'm not going to talk about it right now.
I laid my heart on the line. Okay. If you don't have anything to say.
No, I don't have anything to say right at the moment.
Okay. As we stretch, our inspirations and beliefs become a powerful influence on our lives. Religious leader Dieter F. Uchtdorf explains that belief is not so much like a painting we look at and admire and about which we discuss and theorize. It is more like a plow that we take into the fields and by the sweat of our brow create furrows in the earth that accept seeds and bear fruit that shall remain. So how have your beliefs influenced your learning?
Okay. Well, I can comment on this, but first I'm gonna get back to that quote by Uchtdorf. I like his analogy that belief is not so much like a painting we look at. It's beliefs, whatever you believe in, whatever you in order to strengthen that, in order to gain strength, you have to use it. You have to, like he said, take like a plow that we make in the fields and by the sweat of our brow create furrows in the earth that accept seeds and bear fruit that shall remain. We have to use. We have to use it, utilize it.
Right.
The question that you asked is, how have your beliefs influenced your learning? Well, I've always had a strong belief to learn. Learning is important, and because of that, I went to college. Now that doesn't say that college is for everyone. I understand that, but that was my path. I wanted to continue to learn, and so I found the path that I want to go and went to college. Some people, their beliefs of continuing to learn takes them to a trade school, or they become a journeyman, or they figure out some way. So whatever your beliefs are, that's my answer to that question is that's what led me to school.
Right.
And to keep going, to keep plugging along until I found the field where I wanted to be.
Right. Yeah. So this same friend of mine, Elida, I texted her one day. I was like, "What do you do to take care of plants?" So new topic, right? We've talked some about plants, but I was like, I'm not really very good at it. I've killed a lot of plants.
Right.
And she said, I visit them every day. And so
Okay.
I took that belief. Okay, Elida says I have to visit my plants, and I actually have something on my wall, right? It's a little reminder. And when I need to remind myself to do that, I take it down and I just set it on my desk. So I follow this belief that if I just visit them,
Right.
then thoughts and ideas will come to me as far as how to take care of them or who to ask to know what to do to take care of them. And I'm doing a decent job of keeping alive my
Right.
plants. Not all of them. Some
Right.
still die. If you look at our yard, it's not great. But
Right.
I have a few that have really stayed alive. But I've followed that belief that
Right.
if I just visit them, then that will make a difference.
Good.
So common to self-help strategies is the concept of affirmations. According to Merriam-Webster, an affirmation is something affirmed, a positive assertion, and a solemn declaration. Examples include, the best is yet to come. All I need is within me right now. I am worthy of what I desire. Another way to describe how we define our stretching is by seeking principles that govern our the learning we seek. Religious leader Boyd K. Packer helps us understand that a principle is an enduring truth, a law, or a rule you can adopt to guide you in making decisions. David Allen explains how we use principles. Quote, your principles created the boundaries of your plan. You probably didn't consciously think about your principles regarding going out to dinner, but you thought within them. So some examples of principles are learning opens many new doors, or challenges improve our ability to serve others, or if you work hard where you're at, you'll get where you want to be. The world needs a lot more examples of how to love those we disagree with. So that's another one.
Right.
So what affirmations or principles have you used to help you with your learning in the past?
That's a tough one. You know me. I'm not a big fan of standing in front of the mirror and say, you're
Nor am I.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of principles, of affirmations like that. I don't.
Yeah,
they don't work for me.
The concept of principles speaks to me more
right,
than affirmations.
Right. The concept of principles really does speak to me. It's like an enduring truth, a law, a rule you can adopt to guide you in making decisions. Examples of that, holy cow.
Well, so we talked about this a lot when I was teaching a religion class before school. We talked about if-then, right?
Right.
So if I do this, then this will happen, right? And that's an easy way. And sometimes, if you read something, the principle will be there, but if you put it in if-then, then it's something you can use more often.
Right.
So, I've given you some that don't always do. I did said just earlier, if you work hard where you're at, then you'll get where you want to be.
Right.
So that's one principle.
Right.
So if you can't come up with any right now, that's fine. But that's one way to make them more clear in your life.
Well,
even though, because we're all using them, whether we know it or not.
Well, I think this primary lens is where we need to sit down and we need to figure out what those are, what those principles or those affirmations, or what we're talking about, the things that help us stretch upward, inward, and outward. That's what we need to define in our lives. And if, like, right now, I can't think of anything, but I know that they've been there. But this focus of this primary lens is to help us focus on those, to find out what helps us, motivates us to stretch outward and upward, and to keep our learning going.
Right. And the concept of principles, we all use them, but it's very, very difficult in some areas to know what they are. So I had a friend who's very good at gardening, and I was like, give me some more principles just in general about taking care of plants. And she really didn't catch the vision of what I was talking about.
Right.
But if we have principles that we're guiding our lives by, then, our learning will be so much better.
Right.
So.
Okay. Finding and following inspiration, beliefs, principles decreases the need for self-discipline in order to avoid failure or to maintain successes. Okay, I want to read that again. Finding and following inspiration, beliefs, and principles decreases the need for self-discipline in order to avoid failure or to maintain successes. When we recognize that the best is yet to come, or that we have the ability and are worthy of what we desire, then the energy for actions to make that a reality comes less from self-discipline and more from the energy those affirmations give us. Seeking inspiration and developing our beliefs and affirmations gives us energy and makes it easy to chart a course that will benefit from our failures and strengthen our successes. We are not limited by either polar boundary of our successes or our failures when we do the work to move beyond them. When have you felt the drain of using primarily self-discipline to accomplish a goal? And what have you done as a result? Well, I can, as I've been reading that, the one thing that stuck out, that just an example, we've talked about this in a previous podcast, is my desire to learn to play the guitar. And right now, I'm in that using primarily self-discipline to accomplish a goal, trying to get myself to practice consistently.
Right, and there's a place for that.
Right, and there is a place for that.
I'm not saying that there's not a place for that.
Well, no, but what I'm getting is that the self-discipline and setting those, like I need to practice every day. I need to practice every other day for 10 minutes, whatever that discipline is. That gets our feet on the path to where we get to this, where we have the principles of like, okay, I can actually play the guitar now. I want to play. I want to be, and you don't have to worry about self-discipline anymore because it happens.
Right.
Another example, just an easy example that we've talked about, is disc golf.
Right.
We don't have to motivate ourselves to go play disc golf because we see ourselves getting better and we're excited to go. It's not a chore. It's not something that we dread. I remember when I was a kid learning to play the piano. My mom had me want to practice every day, and when I got home, and I dreaded that because number one, it wasn't a priority for me.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the vision that comes with getting those principles and affirmations established to help me get to that vision to be successful at it.
Right. I distinctly remember a time in junior high where I was like, oh, I need to improve my posture. And I told my friend, you should, every time I have poor posture, you should tell me, fix it. And she was like, no, I'm not doing that. And I was like, okay, self-discipline. And so it didn't happen, right?
Right.
And over the years, I've realized that posture is about breathing. Because as you breathe, you naturally go back to whatever poor posture you had. And so I've tried different things over the years. Most recently, I started learning Tai Chi, and I really love the concept of Tai Chi or Qigong.
Right.
And it helps improve that because you're moving it and you're strengthening those muscles and not just forcing those muscles to be in place, but you're moving them.
Right.
And so that's one situation where discipline clearly did not work.
Right.
But I used inspiring principles of movement that helped me improve it. Now, is it wonderful? No, it's not great, but I'm happy with it, right? And I learned more about my body. I learned more about energies and some of those things, and it's not something I spent a ton of time on, but enough that I've enjoyed what I have learned.
Right. Okay, anything else?
No, that's good.
All right, next time we're going to talk more about how to think and face our limitations as we learn to stretch upward, inward, and outward. In the meantime, send any questions or comments to learningliberated@gmail.com or share with us in our Learning Liberated Facebook group. And if this episode speaks to you or you enjoyed it, please share it with someone else that might enjoy it and let us know. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.